Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Our lead story of the day is regarding Iran continually attacking U.S. troops as well as issuing new threats against the United States. Now, we leaked a video clip here on the Bald Brad Show a while ago of a phone conversation between the United States and Iran with Israel listening in the background. I think it deserves another replay. Let's roll it. Man, that clip never gets old. I could play that 100 times and would still enjoy it. If you liked it as much as I did, hit that like and subscribe button. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. With that being said, Iran has renewed its threats to the United States, cautioning that if Washington fails to enforce a ceasefire in Gaza, there's going to be repercussions. Ooh. We're all so scared. We're shaking in our boots over here, Iran. It's insane that these guys think they're a major player in the world. They clearly have forgotten that we wiped out half their navy in like 24 hours. And that was us being nice guys. That's where being nice gets you, because we should have wiped out 100% of it. Iran's Minister of Defense emphasized the urgency, stating this. Sit down. This is what this idiot had to say. Quote, "Our advice to the Americans is to immediately halt the war in Gaza and implement a ceasefire. Otherwise, they will be hit hard." Look, we didn't ask for your advice. We can give two shits about what you have to say, Iran. Remember, these are the people that chant death to America in their chambers. And just 4 days ago, Iran's supreme leader came out and said, death to America is not a slogan or a chant for us, but it's a policy. And Joe Biden, the Democrats, want to give them $6 billion in humanitarian aid. Yes, you heard that correctly. And then they come out and say, well, it's frozen. They can't really touch it. All the while, they're giving weapons to Hamas. And then John Kirby, the White House, stands on the podium going, well, there's no direct evidence that they're actually giving weaponry to Hamas. That's not what the Israelis are saying. That's not what the IDF is saying with their photos. So who's lying here? Somebody is. And I have a feeling it's John Kirby, because the messaging that's coming from this White House in regards to Iran is head spinning. And it's not just the messaging, it's their actions as well. And you will hear from the White House today, from yesterday's White House press briefing, where reporters were pressing John Kirby about their handling of the Iranians, because the Iranians are attacking U.S. troops. And we have more reports coming out. A new report by the Foundation for Defense of Democracies reveals 15 Iran-backed militias across the Middle East that have incestuous ties to Tehran and are working as a force multiplier for the country to oppose Israel and the United States. And if you're unaware of this, Iran has a long-term project of building and co-opting 15 militias in Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia. And these long-term projects extend to them attacking the United States on U.S. soil, which is why the lack of enforcement of the southern border is such a major issue. So much so, the FBI director, Christopher Wray, came out and said, this is unprecedented with what's going on. Joe Biden has shattered record after record. Even his DHS secretary is like, oh, shoot, maybe we should start building a border wall and kind of securing the border, of which he spent 2 years saying the border was secure, that it wasn't open. We have a clip here from Mike Pompeo expressing concerns, and rightfully so, for national security. Let's roll it.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo now in focus, and I want to ask you, let's start there. So 46 U.S. military men and women hurt, 38 attacks, 1 dead, killed U.S. contractor, and we responded back on October 26, sending in 2 planes and dropped a couple of things.
Harris, it's great to be with you. Your voice is exactly right. I can hear it in your voice. This is nothing. In the eyes of the Ayatollah, in the eyes of President Raisi, in the eyes of Ghani, the leader of the IRGC, external terror plotters, they see us shooting at 2 empty warehouses as literally nothing. It is a green light for them to continue this aggression. And I think, Harris, if we don't respond forcefully, not just against the proxies themselves, right? It's just if we fire at knuckleheads that are out in the desert, and don't take on the Iranian leadership itself, don't get serious about responding to the provocateur, the person who's underwriting training, providing all of the instruments of power that killed Americans on October 7th, resulted in the death of an American yesterday, right? All of those things, if we don't get those right, if we just, if we are weak, we will continue to provoke and we will increase the risk to every American in the United States.
Mike Pompeo is not wrong, but the bombing of these two empty warehouses, in a nutshell, isn't really the problem. The problem is more of a holistic view of what's been going on for quite some time, where Iran's treatment against the United States and our retaliation to that treatment is not sufficient and hasn't been for, again, many, many years. Obviously, there's the big stuff with going after U.S. troops, to going after our allies by supplying munitions to Hamas, a terrorist organization, to kill citizens inside Israel. But even the small things. For years, they've been going after our ships and our ally ships in the various seas, and we're told, we rained a few rounds off the bow. Blow them out of the water. Why are we allowing these idiots to do this stuff to us and harass us constantly? You blow one out of the water, you send a message so they stop doing this ish, because clearly what we're doing isn't working. And this got brought up in yesterday's White House press briefing by many reporters, specifically Jackie Heinrich of Fox News and Peter Alexander. Let's roll it.
Thank you, Kareem. John, on the proxy attacks on U.S. troops, we're now up to 40 since October 17th, with 46 service members being injured or reporting traumatic brain injuries. Does the president think that the action that was taken a couple weeks ago to push back on this was enough?
The president felt like those were two legitimate targets, directly tied to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps that supports these militia groups, and they were ammo, weapons facilities, certainly legitimate targets that we believe not only had a practical effect on limiting some of their capability, but sent a strong signal of how seriously we're going to look after our troops and facilities. If and when we decide to respond again in the future, we'll do it at a time and in a manner of our choosing. We will absolutely take the action that we need to take. The president, as commander-in-chief, will order that action to protect our troops and facilities as he sees fit.
Has there been any?
If it was sufficient, John, if your actions were sufficient, why does this shit keep happening? Why are you allowing a country that wants to see us wiped off the face of the earth, is constantly harassing us, and clearly our troops and our allies, why are you just bombing some empty factory that there's nothing in it other than a few munitions? I'm tired of it. Send a message.
Any additional warning from the president since the last time we responded that this needs to stop? Because clearly the attacks on our troops didn't stop.
Thank you.
I will not get into the decision-making process or options before the commander-in-chief. I would just tell you that we will continue to take the action we believe is appropriate to protect our troops and our facilities.
And then on the apparent disagreement.
How is it appropriate? Somebody, for the love of God, in the live chat or the comment section, tell me how it's appropriate to do that when they've had 40 plus attacks and it hasn't resolved anything. Everybody in that room's confused, by the way. Nobody believes this crap coming out of this guy's mouth. Nobody.
Agreement between the U.S. and its ally. To some of the other questions that you've already gotten, it is notable that we're seeing the U.S. more readily acknowledge some space between what we're advising and what Israel is doing. Like, Israel appears to be resisting the humanitarian pauses still. The president, the administration has been calling that for a couple of weeks, saying that we don't support indefinite occupation. That was a State Department briefing today after Netanyahu said that Israeli forces could be there for an indefinite period of time. And even in the readout from the call with the Prime Minister, the White House readout used again the language of extremist settlers. This is somewhat notably different than the kinds of language we were hearing immediately after October 7th. So can you characterize the closeness of the relationship right now?
It's extremely close. And we're, as was transmitted by the president in the call of Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday, remain solidly behind Israel as they continue to try to eliminate this threat to their people and to their sovereignty, and they're going to continue to get security assistance from the United States. There's no daylight there whatsoever. Now, look, we're friends, and friends don't have to agree on every single nuance and every single word. The Prime Minister speaks for a sovereign nation and for a sovereign people, and he should obviously, be queried about the points that he's making, but it doesn't mean that we're somehow backing away from our friend and our ally Israel. The strongest.
Hey, okay, good answer. Wow, I feel like I'm on Family Feud. Good answer, good answer. Big money, big money. Okay, look, we can. Okay, all right, good. Guys, I'm baffled right now. It kind of caught me off guard. I didn't really know what to say. The damn good answer from the White House. Yes, yes.
Strongest ally we have in the Middle East, or we're backing off our support for what they're trying to do to protect their people.
Or Netanyahu in particular, given the Politico reporting from a little while ago that was a point of discussion whether he'd be.
I'm not going to get into the confirming those kind of press reports. I would just tell you these are two men that have known each other a long time. And I don't think it's any shock to anybody that on a political spectrum, they're not exactly always in the same place on every issue. But one thing they do agree on is that Israel has a right to exist as a country, and they have a right and a responsibility to defend that country and their citizens against the threat that was posed to them like on October 7th. And in the United States, they will continue to find a true friend that will continue to support their ability to do that.
Look, the messaging there wasn't bad from John Kirby. The beginning part, a little definitely fuzzy as hell. But the second part, damn, I got to give it to him, folks. And the pushback doesn't stop there. I mean, the pushback is, again, surrounding the idea that what we're doing to Iran, whether it's showing, force in the Mediterranean Sea with our carrier strike groups or moving submarines to various places to kind of spook them a little bit or bombing an empty warehouse, like, it's not enough. It really isn't. And you need to send a message so that they can that they stop, that they know they can't mess around. They're not willing to do it, and Joe Biden's not willing to do it. And Peter Alexander here does push back a little bit.
Okay, Peter.
John, we know about the strikes that took place in northeast Syria a matter of weeks ago. Just to be very clear, have there been any additional U.S. strikes against targets as Iranian-backed proxies in Iraq or in Syria beyond those?
You mean from the United States?
From the United States?
No.
There have not. So just to be clear, then there have been at least 17 attacks on bases that house Americans since that last set of strikes. Will you agree that those strikes did not deter these Iranian-backed proxies from continuing their assaults on American bases?
I would certainly agree that there have been continued attacks. I would also note that none of them have been effective, and in many cases.
Did I just hear that correctly? John, you were doing so good. You were doing so good earlier. Well, none of them have been effective. So until they are effective, that's when we're going to decide to lay some big munitions down to really show them that we aren't screwing around. You can't just poke us and push us around anywhere and everywhere you feel fit. That was insane messaging right there. Well, they haven't really done anything that's super bad yet. Why would you wait till U.S. troops die or our allies get massacred before you finally do something? Wow.
Cases thwarted before they could pose any kind of a direct challenge. And that, again, Peter, we'll make the decisions on our own about how and if we're going to respond.
To be clear, if you agree that there have been continued attacks, these 17, isn't that evidence alone? Do you agree that that's evidence alone that it has not deterred them from continuing?
It's certainly evidence that some of these militia groups still believe that there's value in continuing to try to strike at our troops and facilities, and our.
Because you won't blow them out of the water, John. You don't do anything. Blow them up. Let them know. Not fucking around. When you're lax on this stuff, which Democrats are across the board, by the way, across the board on everything. When you're lax on consequences, you get the very same behavior that you're lax on. If you're lax on these smash and grabs, stealing stuff, you're going to get more people doing the smash and grabs and stealing stuff that you see in the localities, specifically Democrat-ran areas. When you're lax on homelessness, that's why these Democrat-ran areas are being overran by homeless people, because they're lax on it. When you're lax on crime, you get more crime. When you're lax on people trying to harm U.S. troops, they're going to continue to try to harm U.S. troops. They don't get it. It's not working. Their head's not working.
Our message to them is
not complicated.
You need to be careful because we're going to do what we have to do to protect our troops and our facilities.
Let me ask about the situation in Gaza then, if I can, very quickly. In Ukraine.
Can we go back? Can we go back together? Hold on a second. I'm just asking all of you, whether you're listening or you're watching, does this sound strong to you? Like when you're talking to Iran, basically, does this sound a strong messaging of like, basically, you need to stop? Just listen.
And our message to them is you need to be careful because we're going to do what we have to do to protect our troops and our facilities.
Let me ask about the situation in Gaza.
Wow, I'm sure Iran's shaking in their boots because it's worked out so well, John. It's worked out so well. It didn't all go well, folks, in the White House press briefing. Let me tell you, we could be here for 2 hours of me going through clip after clip of reporter after reporter asking about the casualties of Palestinians in Gaza. And it seems to be every press briefing, John Kirby is being asked about the casualties in Gaza. And I have a reporter here that basically sums up the stuff I keep seeing. I think that we should ask questions. Nobody's asking questions about the atrocities about Hamas, the atrocities that Iran is doing on funding Hamas and supporting them. Like, there's never any questions about Hamas. It's all about, well, why is Israel doing this? Why is Israel doing that? It's very one-sided. It's very weird to me, but it's the entire media. It's the entire media. At least 75% of that room was doing stuff like this. Let's roll it.
Thank you. I want to follow up on the previous question. I have another question. So why not embracing these dissident voices who calls for a balance between private and public message and criticize Israel when actually it is in violation of international humanitarian law and the Geneva Convention? With due respect, John, some people think that you repeat what the Israeli army spokesman is saying. It's exactly what they're saying, you're repeating here. So how can you, why not these dissident voices, not just understanding them and we have a channel because we're a democracy, why not, what's wrong with them? What's wrong with standing here and say when Israel do something wrong because you're the best friend, you have leverage on them, why not criticizing them?
Why don't you ask about Hamas massacring 1,400 citizens in Israel, lady? Why don't you ask any of those questions? Why are you just going after John Kirby for his messaging of supporting an ally that just had a massive terrorist attack, their 9/11, on their soil? This is the manipulation. This is the media. And well, you're parroting Israel's message, Israel's message. You're parroting Hamas's message. How do you like that one? How do you like that one for a spin? God, it fires me up. Here's John Kirby's response.
The question presupposes that we've made some determination that the law of armed conflict has been violated, and I don't think we're not at that point.
You disagree with the UN?
I would just tell you that we're not going to react in near real time to every event. Israel has a right and a responsibility to defend itself.
She asked, do you disagree with the UN? Yes, because the UN is trash. The UN is trash. Everybody here needs to hear that. They suck. And they talk shit about the United States and Israel all the time. All the time. If you want a fabulous book that really shows you the corruption of the United Nations, read Nikki Haley's book. I believe it's called With All Due Respect. That will give you behind the scenes of it, how these nations take our money and pretend to be friendly with us and talk so much crap behind our backs and in front of our faces, it's head spinning. Disagree with them bigly. Yeah, because the United Nations sucks. That should have been the answer by John.
And we're going to make sure they have the tools and capabilities to do that. Again, we're 1 month after this. And we ought not forget what happened 1 month ago. 1,400 people slaughtered in their homes at a music festival. And when Hamas decided to conduct operations, it was with the intent of killing people. You know, I heard this word genocide tossed around about it. Hamas actually does have genocidal intentions against the people of Israel. They'd like to see it wiped off the map. They said so on purpose. So that's what's at stake here, and we're going to keep making sure that Israel has that ability to do that. As for the voices, of course, we respect all different voices and perspectives on this, and we know that there's a lot of there's a lot of high emotion here when it comes to what's going on. We have never shied away from criticizing our friends and partners when we believe it's warranted, and we'll continue to do that. We also believe that the best diplomacy, the best progress in diplomatic pursuits is to do it privately and outside the public eye, and we'll continue to do that as well. We'll continue to have those tough conversations with our good friend.
Folks, for you that's been a longtime viewer of the show, you've sat through a lot of these video clips with me. You could see a big difference between the messaging when he's telling the truth, when he's fervent in his beliefs that of what he's doing is right. You see how the messaging comes across. That was a good response. That was a damn good response by the White House. When they do things dumb and stupid, we're going to call it out. When they do things good that we agree with, that seems to be on the right direction of making America the best, greatest country, make America great again on earth. We're going to call that out as well. But when you see them lying, you could tell there's such a big difference between his posture to how he sounds, the fervency. That is a man that knows that Israel's our ally and they have every damn right to defend themselves. Good messaging, good on John Kirby, like this one.
I forgot what happened on October 7th, but regardless,
I'm not saying you did forget. I'm just saying it's all good for us. We should all be reminded of what happened, and it happened a month ago today.
we talked about settlers' violence in the West Bank. The president spoke about it. But there's also violence by the Israeli army. There is many Palestinians being shot dead in the West Bank. It's 163 since October 7th. There's also massive arrests. There is 1,350 have been arrested under what the Israeli called an administrative detention, i.e. they can arrest a person without a trial. So is this something that concerns you? Is this something that you convey to the Israelis considering the situation in Gaza?
Yes.
It's so amazing how this reporter is so willing to call out the Israelis, but nothing on the Palestinians regarding democracy, nothing on Hamas regarding the lack of democracy in a republic and all that stuff going on there. How they're using Palestinians as human shields, men, women, they've taken hostages, they have about 250 of them, including men and women and children. Do you see? And it wasn't just her, you guys. It was a lot of reporters in there. Well, Israel this, Israel that. Why isn't Israel doing this? No questions on, wait, why is Hamas taking the fuel for themselves and not using it towards hospitals? Hey, John, why is Hamas building tunnels under apartment buildings and hospitals and utilizing it basically as a communications hub? Why are they doing that? No questions about that. Why is Hamas using ambulances as modes of transportation so that when Israel blows the ambulance up because there's a bunch of terrorists inside, the media puppet Hamas's message that it was just, oh, it was an ambulance. There was injured Palestinians in there. No, there was terrorists in there. And that's been going, they've been doing that for a long time. They actually have footage of these Hamas terrorists utilizing in the past ambulances. They've also had footage of them just playing dead with shrouds over them to show, oh, look at everyone's dead. And then the video doesn't cut and they just get up and walk away. So it's astonishing what you're seeing from the media here that's puppeting these Hamas ideas and questions. I'm not saying don't ask the questions, but when it's everybody in the room asking the same damn thing, where's the questions about Hamas? Where's the questions about the terrorists? Where are the questions about the atrocities they're still doing? Well, Israel's not doing a ceasefire to allow humanitarian aid in. Why are you not asking about Hamas's handling of the humanitarian aid? Why are they not allowing people into the Arab countries? Here's a question for you. 40 Arab nations around the area, not one of them wants to take in refugees from Palestine. Why? Or the Gaza Strip. Why? Not one Arab nation, but they all hate Israel, but yet they don't want to take in the Palestinians. Why? Nobody wants to ask that question. It's just amazing how it's all anti-Israel all the time. Well, we got updates here, folks. In our last segment, Jim Jordan shares key takeaways from Hunter Biden prosecutor's testimony. If you recall, this is all surrounding David Weiss. And we covered this in yesterday's episode when David Weiss, during yesterday's episode, actually was on the podium, or should I say behind closed doors on the podium, taking questions from the GOP surrounding his investigation of Hunter Biden. So we have here what actually took place. You're going to hear Jim Jordan, then you're going to hear Jerry Nadler, and Jerry Nadler's an idiot, but we're going to give him his spotlight on what he has to say so we can call it his shenanigans. Special counsel David Weiss said he requested but did not receive special attorney powers that would have allowed him to bring charges against Hunter Biden, the son of the president, outside of his jurisdiction in Delaware last year without the partnership of the local U.S. attorney, according to a top congressional investigator. Sit tight for this one, folks. We're going to break it down for you here. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan told reporters this statement. belying how the prosecutor, quote, pretends that somehow he did not have that. Authority was the key takeaway. From the transcribed interview Weiss did with lawmakers on Tuesday following negotiations with the DOJ. Quote, he won't answer a lot of questions, but that's the key takeaway because the whole deposition was about the changing story we got from the DOJ regarding the authority that he had. Correct. We said this yesterday, where David Weiss, in a nutshell, said somebody else was acting as the puppet. Somebody else did not give him unfettered access. And who was that somebody else that didn't give him unfettered access? It was Attorney General Merrick Garland. Then Attorney General Merrick Garland said, no, I gave him unfettered access. What are you talking about? If he wants to prosecute him anywhere and everywhere, he could. That's not what David Weiss said. And then you got this foolery going on back and forth like the game of telephone, and nobody knew what to believe, which is why this is such a huge deal, because we're trying to figure out, it's been 5 years, why has the dude not been prosecuted? You have receipt after receipt, money being funneled from this country to that country into the Biden family members' bank accounts and the Joe Biden's bank account, the big man. What's going on? So at least we got a little bit here. It goes on where Jordan said the testimony is consistent with claims made by the IRS Supervisory Special Counsel Gary Shapley, who was a whistleblower, who asserted that Weiss, when he was solely a U.S. attorney from Delaware, told investigators during a October 2022 meeting that he was not the deciding person. There's the phrase. That's what I was looking for in yesterday's episode. The deciding person when it came to charges, meaning there's somebody else out there that was puppeting this whole thing, that was the decision maker. That's why we needed this bigly yesterday. The White House reached out to the DOJ seeking comment on Jordan's statements about the closed-door deposition, the transcript of which was not immediately released. The agency shared a statement from Weiss to the House Judiciary Committee in which he said processes associated with investigative and charging decisions did not interfere with his authority. So the question is that why is David Weiss not being clear in his language here? Why are you not just addressing the question at hand is, well, then who is the deciding person? Is it you? And if it's not you, then who is it? Because that's not clear to me of the decisions not interfere with the authority or with his authority. But you just said that from a whistleblower that you didn't have the authority in the first place. You had some authority. Quote, at no time was I blocked or otherwise prevented from pursuing charges or taking the steps necessary in the investigation by other United States attorneys, the tax division, or anyone else in the Department of Justice, he testified. Interesting, because that goes against the whistleblower. Question, who's lying? Is it Attorney General Merrick Garland? Is it David Weiss? Is his life being threatened? Why is the narrative changing? And what's going on with the two whistleblowers? One of you saw was part of the IRS. Is he lying? What does he have to gain by lying? You got Jerry Nadler here, a complete knucklehead. He's a House Judiciary ranking member. He said this, Weiss was very clear that no one told him what to prosecute and what not to prosecute. He made all those decisions himself, and he said that before. And I mean, Republicans tried to get him to say anything, but they got over and over and over again the same thing. After a plea deal collapsed under scrutiny from a judge, Attorney General Merrick Garland granted Weiss special counsel status in August of this year, giving Weiss broader authority to bring charges outside of his own district, similar to what the special counsel powers allow, but with more oversight provisions. A federal grand jury in Delaware indicted Biden on federal gun charges in September, after which he pleaded not guilty. Remember, he got the sweetheart deal. Like nobody in America would have gotten this deal other than somehow Joe Biden's son. The first son may also face an indictment on tax evasion charges, which were part of the plea agreement. But it has been a strenuous process for congressional investigators to glean what has transpired behind the scenes over a years-long investigation. Shapley, joined by fellow IRS agent Joseph Ziegler, the two whistleblowers, in coming forward as a whistleblower, brought forth allegations that the criminal inquiry into Biden, that the DOJ slow-walked the inquiry in a way that may have precluded other serious charges due to the statute of limitations. Amid increasing scrutiny, Weiss went from saying he had a ultimate authority to acknowledging discussions with DOJ officials who assured him that he would have power to bring charges outside of his district if he provided necessary or if it was provided necessary. Well, in a statement on Tuesday, Weiss stressed, as I have said previously, I did not request special counsel status until August of 2023. When I made that request, it was promptly granted. Furthermore, During testimony before the House Judiciary Committee in September, Garland insisted that Weiss always had latitude to bring any charges he saw fit. But the Attorney General acknowledged other U.S. attorneys could refuse to partner with Weiss. Indeed, top federal prosecutors from Washington, D.C. and California told House lawmakers in testimony that they declined to do so. Once again, Shapley and Ziegler's testimony continues to stand up to every single witness we brought forward in for an interview, Jordan said on Tuesday. So the shenanigans, this circus show continues, and it just really shows you how deep Joe Biden has his damn feet and fingers in everything, from China to Romania to Russia to high levels of government, of the FBI, now even the DOJ, with Attorney General Merrick Garland. It's curious on why David Weiss is bringing a freaking weed in the wind on this whole thing. And it even goes a step further. What does Shapley and Ziegler have to lose, or to gain for that matter? Why would they come out and say all these things? And the reason why I bring this up to you guys is because we know the FBI, with Christopher Wray and others, even going back to Trump's time, sat there and paid off somebody to lie about Trump. And we also know the FBI has lied to Congress about the FD 1023 form with Chuck Grassley saying, look, I have it right here. Why are you lying? You have the DHS secretary saying the border is secure when it's not secure. It's wide open. So these guys lie all the time. I don't know who to believe. I don't know if it's the whistleblowers. I don't know to believe David Weiss, who just gave his testimony under oath, to Merrick Garland, who gave a testimony under oath, but also lied, to Christopher Wray, who gave his testimony under oath, but lied. I don't know what to believe. I'm just giving you the information. It's head spinning. Did the dude have full federal access? Honest to God, even after this, I don't know. I don't know. What a shit show, man. I don't mean to cuss. I'm sorry. Some of you guys got kids in the car, but damn. I mean, I'm trying my best to make sense of this so that when I give it to all of you, it makes sense to all of you. Honest to God, this doesn't make sense. Joe Biden not being investigated, or in terms of even being prosecuted for his laundering of Chinese money, is head spinning. I can't make sense of that. Hunter Biden going away for 5 years of nothing happening to him and getting sweetheart deals left and right. I can't make sense of that, you guys. Donald Trump having a slight deviation in valuation for his property, full grand jury, full investigation, full court case, judge being an idiot. You know, the prosecutor, the attorney there campaigned on going after Donald Trump. Like the swamp runs so thick and deep. It's disgusting. I keep saying this, man. 2024 is the year. I don't know. I think America will survive another 4 years of Joe Biden, but damn, it's going to bring us to our knees. We can't afford to lose this next election, you guys. I really do mean that. And I really do believe that. I don't think we can afford to lose the next election. If they do mail-in ballots, we lose. That is my prediction. If Democrats decide to mail out ballots again and do this whole harvesting again of like one person all of a sudden just throwing in like 50 ballots here, coming back 8 hours later, here's another 50 ballots, to the foozery of not checking IDs, to the foozery of not checking registration, that there's somebody actually lives on the property, which we know was happening, where basically somebody would vote and they're registered at this address. No property in sight. You could go to the address. I'm talking like nothing. It's desert. In some cases, it was a freeway. There was somebody voted from a freaking freeway. Explain that one to me. But hey, you know what? It was the fairest election we've ever seen. It was the cleanest election. There wasn't any fraud. There wasn't any foozery at all. I can go on for hours. It's frustrating. But thank God I have you guys that are willing to listen to me ramble. We are a family of patriots here. We would love for you to join us. There is a join tab right here. Look, Joe Biden's taking your hard-earned money and giving it to Iran. I want to take your hard-earned money and spread conservative thought and ideas, and hopefully get the Trump movement going. The Trump train, baby. I want that wall. You need that wall. I can't do it. My throat's a little bit messed up, but we have mugs. We got merch. We got merch big time. This shirt's actually the 1776 one with the Minutemen on the back. Everything is, there's no profit here on this stuff. It's just get yourself some merch, enjoy it. There are the holidays coming up. There's no holiday deals, folks. Like I said, it's just break even. I think I make 2 cents off the mug. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the Bald Brad Show. A lot of new subscribers. We're growing here. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. Leave us a comment down below. It does support the channel bigly, folks. If you can't join our membership, just you watching all the way through multiple times, leaving a comment, sharing this all over social media, that is enough here. That is enough support. You are true American patriots. And folks, I'll see you tomorrow here on the Bald Brad Show.